Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Industry Insider here on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden. Episode number 18. We're rolling into 2019 now. We're planning to probably knock out around 100 podcasts. We did 53 last year. 100's the goal for David Cole and I here in 2019, and we're off to a really good start here in January. It is January 25th, and my guest today on the Industry Insider, Garett Potter from ROK USA, of course, the program that continues to grow from coast to coast. Garett, though, first off, I'll welcome you to the EKN Radio Network. You're less than 5 days from your first Florida Winter Tour race that you guys put in the books in Miami. I'll ask first, are you rested up? Because temporary circuits are not easy.
You know, honestly, I don't feel too bad. We talked a little bit before we got on the air, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, it's definitely a lot of work. There's no doubt. I mean, this one, and especially going to a new venue. I mean, doing a temp circuit at the same venue, the vendors, the people, they understand how you work. I mean, it's definitely much easier. This one was just a challenge on the vendor side, but as far as track setup, I can't thank the team enough. I don't know. We just kind of clicked and we're in the groove, unloading barriers and putting them on the ground. We did it in record time. And, we had some custom curbs made for this event, specifically, not only because the concrete curbs, they really can't be used, or people kind of stay off them because you can't, make them a smooth transition, but just general cost, it's $6, $7, $8 to put curbs down and they throw them in the garbage. So we had some custom curbs made. That was a little challenging at first to understand how we needed to make them work, but overall, super, super happy. Track went down good. Curbs worked phenomenal. I think from the racer standpoint, they really, really liked them. They could use them, and not only could they use them, I can reuse them. so I'm
that's
pumped.
The investment, right?
We pulled them up and put them back in their crate, and we'll use them for the next one. So it'll take me a couple of races to pay for them, but overall, I think it's a plus, and I'm really happy. It was a great event. Great location.
Can I touch on? We'll get to the location in a second. Can I touch on that curbing? Is that something that you guys kind of designed yourself? Was it a vendor that you found somewhere?
Yeah. So it was obviously you've been around to understand the evolution from not having any curbs to moving into curbs and curb design and all those type of things on a temp circuit. It's expensive. It's and they really don't serve really what we want to see, right? They serve on the operations side, keeping people off the barriers. But, for the racer side, it wasn't really a great option for them. So I've been thinking about this for a few years on, how you deal with that. Can we do a speed bump? Can we do something that, that the customers or the racers could use as well as that we could reuse? So we found a company, made a mold, it's just an extruded piece of rubber, 10-foot sections, weigh about 160, 170 pounds a piece. We need to form them to get the radiuses, cut pies in them to get the radiuses we want. But overall, I think it's great. I did waste a bunch of money painting them because the paint didn't last long. but overall, it was another. You're nervous about a track anyway. Is it going to race well? Is it going to be safe? The temp circuit, that's always a concern. And then the curbs was another concern on this one. But we got huge positive reviews on the curbs, so I think we made the right choice. They held up, and we're ready to try it again. So overall,
that's really
I'm happy.
Interesting. Yeah, really interesting. I look forward to maybe delving into some more. Obviously, I wasn't trackside with you guys, but I'd like to maybe delve into some more of the video and some of the photos I've seen just to get a better look at those. It was interesting because I look back, I've been doing this for 20 something years. I remember when I first went to a travel race, I went to a track called Tradex up in British Columbia. It was the IKF Region 6 Gold Cup, and they had mats around their corners. It was a parking lot that they set up every race for their club even, and they had these rubber mats. So you talk about your curbing being rubber. I remember 2002, I think, or 2003 at the Rio when the Super Nationals were there. J.R. Clausen from Power Source was the regional director out there, and it was just a flat piece of steel, and then he had welded on like angle iron as the bump, as the curbing, and that worked, except for guys were ripping off their engine mounts, right?
Exactly.
Ripping the engine mounts off. So I love the fact you're doing something a bit different. The curbing has been a big thing. The addition, of course, at the Rio for SCUSA and with you guys for the ROK the Rio. But man, I'm gonna look. You've got me intrigued now. I'm going to.
It's pretty cool. I mean,
I like it.
It's like anything else. Now that you've done it, you would do something different. I'd like to make them a little wider. And as far as the profile, they're perfect. But I think if I do them again, I'll make them maybe 18 to 20 inches wide. But we were worried about weight and transportation and that type of thing. But overall, I'm very happy with them. And the customers, the most important thing is the customers had no complaints and they were using them and they didn't pull apart. So overall, I'm happy.
This is Industry Insider number 18 here, speaking with Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA. We're talking Florida Winter Tour right now, the kind of launch for the ROK Cup program here in 2019, the opening round going in the books just a week ago at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, a temporary circuit. If you saw any of the stuff on social media, a couple of the outlets were down there and putting out some good videos, some aerial shots. They had the drone up. First and foremost, let's talk venue. Garett, the idea, of course, with the layout was to match South Garda, where the ROK Cup International Final takes place every year. Visually, the place just looked really cool. With all the barriers being the same color and everything, it just looked good.
It did, and the venue, the venue is amazing. It's we lucked out when they, that was a dirt lot or semi-dirt lot, a year and a half ago. So we lucked out that. The Dolphins decided to spend a couple $1 million to give us a place to play. So, but overall, it was great. The atmosphere, there's a ton of room, and the track. Of course, it's a parking lot, so it has its seams, so it's not smooth at all. It's fairly rough, but it's when you look at the surface itself, it's like a baby's butt compared to the Rio. So but each track has its characteristics, right? So this one, it had the bumps because we were running, against the seams. So, but overall, I'm happy with it. It turned out nice. It's a beautiful location, a great, easy place to get to right off the turnpike. The hotels are 2 minutes away. The customers seemed to really enjoy it. I did. Visually, it was fantastic having the backdrop of the Hard Rock Stadium. So overall, happy. We'll do it again next month.
We won't go into a full breakdown of what happened trackside, though. But overall, you as the overseer of the whole program, were you happy with the racecraft? Were you happy with the competition side?
Yeah, I think so. For me, the track was nice, but and being on the operation side, I don't get to watch much racing anyway, but I really try to watch Mini and Shifter for sure. Those are the two that I really try and watch. And I like the track, but for me, there wasn't enough passing. I didn't hear this complaint from anybody. Not one person said anything to me, but just visually for me, I would have liked to see more passing opportunities or more action. The racing was super close, good racing, but I love at Rio specifically, there's areas you see them 3-4 wide, for multiple corners, making passes and lots of lead changes. So I didn't get that out of this configuration. Maybe we'll get it out of the next one. But for me, that was the only downside.
That's interesting to me because, of course, you go in with this concept, this layout, matching South Garda in Italy, and that place has a ton of passing. There's the hairpins. There's just so many places to overtake at that racetrack. It's interesting, and maybe you can speak to this a bit, how when you're transitioning a wide open track like that into a more, barrier line temporary circuit, how it kind of changes people's mindsets of where you can pass, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think I didn't have anybody say, man, there's nowhere to pass. We should change this or change that. We had one concern on the, heading to turn one, they've got the little kink, at South Garda. We put it in here. We made it we were worried about entry speed, so we made it a little more aggressive. So the drivers talked to us, we adjusted that. But nobody, really said anything about the passing. It's just something I visually noticed, that normally I'm, especially in those two classes, shifter, you can for sure plan on a ton of passing. Maybe it's not at the front, but where the packs are, you'll see a lot of lead changes. And then also you can count on it in mini. And I didn't see that much. I didn't watch a lot of races, but for me, that was really the only downside. And maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, we'll see.
Well, we've talked about the first round of the Florida Winter Tour. You're, of course, back again to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami for round number 2 as well. Let's preview that. Let's look down the road, Garrett, about round number 2. Can you give us any inclination of what's happening? From the get-go, you had South Garter for round number 1, and you guys were saying it'll be a different track for round number 2. You have this fantastic venue. You don't need to lock in the same racetrack. Can you let us know what the plan is for round number 2?
Yeah, we are looking at I think, and I may be wrong, someone might call me out on this on the podcast. I think it's the original Le Mans track, which was also the Xplex in Sloan was modeled after this track. So for me, I mean, I don't know about you, but I love that track,
Yeah.
and Xplex was one of the funnest tracks that I've ever driven. We used to go down there and night race, and it was just, I mean, maybe it's just because it was one of my, when I first got into karting, it was one of the first ones that I went to. But I just loved the track. I loved the way it raced. It was just a lot of fun to drive. Again, who knows what's going to happen in a temp setup?
Yep.
You
right.
never know.
Yep.
It may be terrible, but that's the plan is to do that configuration, and we'll start setting that up, the Sunday prior. And if we need to make adjustments, we will. But that's our goal, is to try and emulate that track.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of people will be happy about that because, as you know, and I announced a lot of races out there, and I got a chance to test some karts there as well. There's just so many great parts of that track. I'll just start to say Xplex as opposed to Le Mans, but the double apex right-handed leads onto the straightaway, down to that passing. Yeah. That's just such a fast corner, right?
Absolutely.
Down to that passing, and then the inner loop.
That little snail shell thing is so cool.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's just a lot of fun. So
I like it. That's good. All right. So anything else coming down the pipe? I'll let you. I think the registration is now open for round.
Yeah, registration opens today. I think the announcement's going out here shortly, but yeah, so it opens today for round 2, and we're going to make some adjustments. Again, new venue, new vendors. We didn't have in the Vegas race. I put up a nice mechanic stand for everybody, and I wasn't able to do that at round 1.
Okay.
I'm pushing to get that at round 2. This track will also allow for some better viewing and not so much walking. So we had some little issues on my side that I want to fix for the next round, but I've got it in my plans. We're going to make it better than the first one for sure.
Folks, stay with us. We got more to come here. This is Industry Insider number 18 on the EKN Radio Network. If you've downloaded the EKN Radio Network app to your mobile device, thank you. We appreciate it. iTunes and Google Play. Of course, this show will first air on the radio network. Then we'll turn it into a downloadable podcast as well that you can get through iTunes and Google Play. As I said, you can always go to EKN on the site as well. The podcasts are all available there. And, of course, EKN Radio available there as well. Again, Garett Potter joining me here on Industry Insider number 18. Stick with us. More to come.
Hello, karting fans. This is IndyCar driver Zach Veach, and you're locked into the EKN Radio Network.
With over 35 years of manufacturing experience, Precision Karting Technologies is the leader in American-made components. We produce high-quality products, led by our full line of chromoly and mild steel axles. Metric or imperial, standard or custom, we have what you need. Collars, keys, bearings, we're the source for axle components in the USA. We're not just axles either. At PKT, we can manufacture motor mounts, hubs, brake rotors, and even GoPro mounts. We're also the choice for axle and chassis straightening. We've designed a dedicated table for the sole purpose of straightening and laser aligning your chassis. If needed, we have the capability to cut, replace, and weld portions of your chassis as well. Big crash bent your frame? Send it to us. Broke a spindle yoke off in a wreck? We can replace it. You don't need to toss that expensive frame in the trash bin. We can fix it. We can repair and straighten chassis, and we CNC machine the finest karting products in the country. With over 70 dealers throughout the US and Canada, it's easy to choose PKT. Family owned and operated, proudly made in the USA. PKT. What's in your cart? As a world leader in personal racing safety products with a sales and service staff and dealer network unmatched in motorsports, Simpson Performance Products is now the official North American distributor for Stilo helmets. In addition to their wildly popular auto racing helmets, Stilo is extremely excited to have made their move into the karting community with a pair of stellar options. Stilo has two helmets designed and manufactured specifically for karting: the Stilo ST5 CMR 2016 for kids and the Stilo ST5 Kart Snell K 2015 adult karting helmet. The company's karting helmets are directly derived from Stilo's auto racing helmets that are so popular at the top levels of racing. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, as well as Stilo's lightweight construction and unparalleled field of vision, a crucial attribute for karting. For more information on Stilo, check them out at simpsonperformanceproducts.com/Stilo or by following them on social media at Stilo USA. Are you looking for a new kart shop? One that treats you like you're an important customer? If so, look no further than Acceleration Kart Racing. At Acceleration, customer service is number one. We are a full-time karting business, not a hobby or an afterthought. We have all the products you're looking for, from kid karts to shifters, safety to speed. We strive to offer our customers the best products, prices, and service. At Acceleration Kart Racing, we're always here when you need something for your racing program. Located in Las Vegas, Acceleration is stocked with a wide range of products. We've been helping racers get the right parts for over 16 years. Acceleration has everything that a kart racer needs, from turnkey karts to safety equipment, engines, and more, stocking all of the leading kart racing brands. Here's a taste of the products that we carry every day: CRG, Tony Kart, Bennett, Rotax, Honda, Miami, MG Tires, Vinco, Bridgestone, Mojo, Alpine Stars, Sparco, Ribtech, and EVS, Tillett, Micron, Alfano, Bell, Arai, Zamp, KG, Sniper, SweetTech, and K&N. It doesn't matter where you live in the country. We will get you what you need so you can get back on the track. Acceleration has a sufficient supply of products to ensure that your order can be shipped the very same day. Our knowledgeable staff is available to help customers 6 days a week, and ordering online is open 24 hours a day at shopakr.com. For visitors and locals in the Las Vegas area, Acceleration has a large showroom full of the best kart racing products available. Come on in and check it out. To find out more about what Acceleration has to offer, visit shopakr.com. Again, shopakr.com. And make sure to sign up to be on our mailing list to receive the latest updates and promotions that we send throughout the season. Again, we're a one-stop shop. shopakr.com.
Hello, karting fans. This is Sean Bailiff with Trendy Karting Group, and you're locked into the EKN Radio Network.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden. This is episode number 18 of the Industry Insider, January 25th, 2019. Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA joining me. Garett, new season, so we're going to talk about the Winter Tour. We're going to get in later on to talk more about plans that you guys have for 2019. But, ROK Cup, the ROK program has those, East Coast, West Coast programs. It's Florida Winter Tour in the East, Challenge of the Americas in the West. Andy Saisman and his crew are always doing a great job. They moved to the ROK program last year in 2018 and got, solid numbers, essentially the same numbers they had the year before when they transitioned out of the Rotax program. And speaking with Andy, he's really excited about how things are going to roll out. There's more guys running the ROK product on the West Coast over the last 6 months. What are your thoughts on Challenge of the Americas?
I'm excited, about this year. And last year, like you said, was our first year, and we were, exceeded the expectations to be able to start where he ended with a new product, new program, new tire, new everything. We were very happy about that. But this year, again, as you said, talking to Andy, numbers are looking good. I think I talked to him yesterday. His pre-entry numbers are already up from his finishing numbers from round one. And he's also eliminated the Briggs program. I think that was 2 classes, if I'm not mistaken. So to have those numbers all on ROK is a good sign for sure.
Well, we'll definitely sit down with Andy, do another little update podcast, or get him on maybe a This Week in Karting. But yeah, he's talking about great numbers. He's excited, of course, heading to Cal Speed, I believe, for the first round as well too. It'll be interesting to go to Cal Speed. They were there again last year, but I don't know if you've been to the track since, but they did a pretty badass facelift on the place. It looks good.
It does look really good. I seen the pictures a few weeks ago, and they did a fantastic job. I think everybody's excited to go there this year. It looks really, really nice.
Well, the EKN team will be flat out for sure. That weekend's a double weekend with a conflict. I'm going to be at the SCUSA race in Homestead. David Cole, and I think they've got Chappie coming out to do the play-by-play. He'll be doing the EKN live program. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet in terms of 2 different live streams. We'll probably have to get another Mixler account. We're figuring things out. But again, if you're listening to the stuff on EKN, we'll have full EKN trackside live coverage of the Challenge of the Americas opener. Again, that's just a couple of weeks away. All right, so talked about Challenge. We talked about Florida Winter Tour. Of course, you can still have one more round in Miami. You're going to wrap things up in March in Ocala. 2019 plans. When last time you and I talked, you really didn't have any information in terms of Rock Fest, that kind of thing. When we come back after another break, we'll talk more about regions, that kind of thing, and more programs that are coming out. But strictly your primary stuff. What's going on with Rock Cup USA nationally? What do we got for Rock Fest?
Well, obviously after March, we'll move into Rock Fest, which will be, our 2 summer rounds, and then we'll finish in Vegas like we did last year. This round, I can announce that, Rock Fest 1, where we'll be. I'm still working out a few details on some scheduling issues for 2. But Rock Fest 1 will be at Finish Line Performance Karting in Biloxi, Mississippi. So
whoa, really?
That'll be fun. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool track.
Yeah.
It's right on the beach, casinos, food. It's a beautiful facility. I don't know if people have seen it, but it's a fantastic track. So yeah, we're excited about that. That's going to be, let me just check my date, May 30th through June 2nd. Got a lot of support from the city. Not only are we looking on the ROK side to do what we normally do with our guests, but they're looking to blow it out, to put up grandstands and food trucks and beer trucks and do a bunch of marketing and stuff. So it might, yield a lot of stuff just for the karting industry, and it's right on their main highway, Highway 90 there off, Beach Boulevard. So it should be pretty big. We're excited.
Have you had a chance to get any carts on it, any rock carts there, just to see how the track's going to race or whatever? It's a multi-layout track, is it? They have a couple of different ways.
Yeah, so the way it's set up is you have a rental track in the front, which is just under, it's like 0.43 or something, and the back is 0.78 on multi-configurations. We ran a few configurations just to see what we think will race best. We have had carts on it. We're going to make some adjustments with curbs and some things over the next few months just to make sure it's ready to roll. But overall, I think it's going to race well. It was designed and set up for racing on that side. So I think it's going to be neat. I think people are going to be excited. Like I said, new location, new track. It's just a really cool environment. I know some of the people that are from the South, go up there for vacation, so they understand it. But the people that haven't, it's going to be a nice weekend, not just racing, but just generally, throughout the city there.
Can you drop some names and who was behind the wheel driving the track? Did you happen to pull the helmet on yourself, Garett?
I wished. You know what? It was so funny. I was talking to Orsolan in Miami. I'm like, man, I want to be the first one to drive this track. Don't you think it makes sense for me to be the first one to drive?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was going to, and then I got tied up into the BS of trying to get everything going, and I never did it. So I didn't drive the Miami track, and I wasn't the first one to drive the Mississippi track either. So I missed out on both, but I might get some laps in before we go.
So that's Rock Fest number 1, May 30th to June the 2nd. Biloxi, Mississippi. That's very cool. I like the fact that you guys are going in there. I wanted someone to go in there and put on a proper national event. I think we pushed it out on EK and it was a couple of months ago because just the place just looks fantastic. Like you said, it's right on the beach. Like
it's crazy.
It's awesome.
It's literally 100 yards from the beach. It's amazing.
Is there thoughts on when people could potentially find out about Rockfest #2?
Hopefully midweek of next week. I'm real close. I was, we talked or we were texting back and forth, and I was hoping to have the deal done last night so I could announce today. But I would say Wednesday or Thursday of next week we'll finalize it and get it up.
Copy, folks.
We will be coming west. I will tell you that we will be headed west, so it'll be mid country.
All right, that's really good then. That's good insight for sure. So the West Coast guys are going to get a Rockfest race as well. All right, folks, stick with us. We got more to come. We're going to talk a little bit with Garett when we get back from this break about where the program's starting to develop. Obviously the Florida Winter Tour is one thing. The Challenge of the Americas, some really stable, foundation programs. It's about trying to grow the ROK program and get racers around the country. We'll talk more about that when we come back from this break.
Hello, karting fans. This is Chris Wheeler from Bell Racing USA, and you are locked into the EKN Radio Network.
If the dream is IndyCar, set your target on the road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Our ladder system is designed to take drivers through 3 rungs of competition. The first step is the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, which features a carbon tub Tatis chassis, 180 horsepower, and paddle shift sequential gearbox. Boost the USF 2000's output to 280 horsepower for the newly named Indy Pro 2000 program, the second rung of the road to Indy, formerly known as Pro Mazda. Add in increased grip and aero downforce, and the Tatis PM18 becomes an incredible racing machine. The final step before IndyCar is the Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The Dallara IL-15 boasts a whopping 450 horsepower. This car itself has helped train a third of the grid expected for the 2019 IndyCar Series. At all 3 levels, you race at premier venues on the same dance card as IndyCar. Showcase your skills under the watchful eyes of IndyCar scouts and owners. The program is unprecedented around the world, offering the opportunity to climb the ladder with over $2 million in scholarships to the champions in USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and Indy Lights. Former karters fill the roster of Road to Indy graduates in IndyCar like Spencer Piggott, Zach Beach, Jack Harvey, Ed Jones, Matthias Laced, Felix Rosenquist, Colton Herta, and 2018 Indy Lights champion Pato O'Ward. Recent graduates like Kyle Kirkwood are in the middle of their journeys right now as well. Follow in their footsteps. If you want to race IndyCar, there's only one choice. The Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires.
Kartlift has been designing, engineering, and building innovative kart stands since 2003. Our flagship model Winchlift LT is the motorized workhorse of our kart stand lineup and should be the foundation of your karting program. When it comes to test days or race days, the Winchlift is an invaluable tool that allows you to head to the track to test and tune anytime, knowing that your kart will easily be lifted with the press of a button. Add our innovative winch stacker, and now you can double stack 2 carts on top of a folded down winch lift, saving space in your trailer or garage. If a lifting kart stand isn't for you, then one of our traditional folding scissor stands, double or triple stacker stands, or upright stand should fill the need. Every one of our kart stands features flat-free wheels and casters and a durable powder coat finish. Check out our full stand lineup as well as our chassis skid plates, tire changers, and accessories at kartlift.com. That's www.kartlift.com.
In a sport where the difference between winning and losing is measured in hundredths of a second, you can't afford to leave anything on the table. You invest in the best equipment, the latest components, and top-of-the-line data acquisition systems. Anything to find one more tenth, right? I'll tell you right now, the best investment you could ever make is in yourself. If you want to improve your results, It's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the new state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy uses the very best equipment, Burrell Art Karts. They offer half-day, 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day clinics. They have a one-on-one student-to-instructor ratio, and they will design a customized curriculum for each student. Alan Rudolph is one of the most respected people in the sport, and he has nearly 20 years' experience training drivers, including Chase Elliott, Neil Alberico, Austin Versteeg, and Sabre Cook, and rising stars like Pietro Fittipaldi. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Start off your season with a driver tune-up. Tune up your season with some driver coaching. Or get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. For more information, visit speedsportsracingpark.com/racing-academy.
This is Jim McKinney, and you're listening to EKN Radio Network 24/7.
Welcome back to the Industry Insider here on the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden, joined today by Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA. We've kind of worked our way through the season, how things are rolling out. Florida Winter Tour, Challenge of the Americas, talking about mid-race, the national events, Rock Fest #1. Really good news that they're heading to Biloxi, Mississippi. That's really exciting, I think. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
May 30th to June the 2nd for the Rock Fest #1. All right, Garett, let's start looking forward now. I mentioned before we went to the break that really what you guys are trying to do and have been since you kind of got into the hell at ROK was to see what you do to start building areas where people are going to run the product. Obviously Vortex makes a great engine from micro all the way through to the, the master shifter guys. Let's start by give you an opportunity to kind of maybe kick out a couple of spots like, man, I'm really excited about this, or we're, making some moves over here. And I'll give you open forum because there's a lot going on in terms of ROK.
Well, and I think, we've talked about this many times. We talked about it a year ago, actually, at Challenge, when I was there. And I think it's clear the focus for everybody is to try and build the club programs back up. So, we're going to double down and work it in Colorado at SBR with Lee and his group there. I've said this many times. I think Colorado is a huge market. Not only do I think it was in the past. It's just, we just need to get our hands wrapped around it. We had a few issues last year, scheduling and stuff like that, some changes we made. So we didn't cover the ground we wanted to last year, but I think we've got a better idea of where we're headed this year. We're going to work with the mid-country with NOLA Motorsports Park to try and build their program. We started helping them mid last year to put their program back together. We'll focus on that. Working with some guys up in the Northwest. Obviously, Andy's got his new program going with the California ROK Championship. I think for me, and it's just so much work, and I think I buried myself into it a little too deep last year, and I'm still on this year, is just trying to get these club programs up and going again. By far, I think it's easy for everybody to see that that's where the focus has to be, not only with us, but, all the organizers around the country. We've got to really focus on those programs. They're a lot of work, a lot of energy, time, money, but it's got to come from the bottom. It can't come from the top. We do the events, Rock Fest, Florida Winter Tour, Vegas, so people can see the name and the branding and have the national program. But we really want to focus on the club and regional guys. I mean, that's where all the people are going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. And the Rock Fest or Florida Winter Tour is from there. So, again, we just that's going to be our focus. Our main ones will be, like I said, SBR, NOLA, some stuff on the Northwest, and then help Andy push hard, the California ROK Championship. We also have Calvin Chen and his program with the Formula Kart program. So we're going to work with him. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire, but I feel we've got the right partners, and partners with the right mindset and the right idea. We all have the same kind of goals and mindset on where we need to be in the next 2 or 3 years. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's going to take some time. So,
well, and in addition, if you go northeast, you're also, I know, working with the guys from the F Series as well.
Yes,
Marco,
absolutely. Marco,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Marco and his group, and yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Is maybe trying to identify some of the places that are still running a pure tag program. Is that something you're looking at? Is that what's happening up in the Pacific Northwest, or are you trying to get pure classes?
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to give the clubs or the organizers or regionals what they want. What do you want from me? How can I help you? I don't want to my idea is not just to come up there and switch an engine badge. I mean, that's not my thought. My thought is, I have the ability or the people in place that can help you organize, race direct, train. We have the product, whether it's tires, engines, those type of things as well. But what do you need from me? What do you need help with? Well, we're running an old, HPV or an old KT. We need some help there. We like the new 100cc you guys are doing. Okay, well, let's plug that in, or do you need some help, on the tire? Do you need some help on training? I mean, so my approach is an approach of, I have this buffet of stuff. What do you need? Do you need it all, or do you just need a piece of it? And I don't want to push people one way or another if it's not going to help them in the end. It all comes down to what they need. So
yeah, more of an a la carte kind of menu. Here's the stuff that we offer, and if it fits in with your program, I like that. Now, interesting. You obviously brought up the need, and I say need that everybody's, I think, understanding that we have to focus on the bottom of the pyramid, right?
For
Which
sure.
is the masses. We look at national racing, and it's less than 5% of the actual karters
exactly.
in North America, right? Everybody else is running club and regional level racing, and no doubt, with the high kudos, the high five to David Klaus and everybody at Briggs and Stratton, the 206 program is what's doing it, right?
Absolutely.
I'm doing these Operation Grassroots updates, and I'm talking to clubs, and it's like, man, we were down to this, but we brought the 206 in, and we got 16 in this class. We got 22 guys here. It's growing the junior stuff, which is great.
Right.
Obviously, one thing about racing is, and you inevitably ask everybody that got into it. I did the same thing. It was Honda back in the day up in Ontario. I ran a Honda.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But there was this Yamaha, and wow, that was
Absolutely.
really fast. I really want to try that, right? Because I want to go quicker. And a lot of guys in Canada was really, I loved it, was the fact that guys would run Briggs, and they would run Honda, and they would run
The
Yamaha,
KT,
or
yeah.
they'd run JICA or Formula A. All the badasses back there, the Dan DeLeos, the Juliana Chiovides, the Jonathan Erlins. It was awesome. They ran everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, you brought up the VLR 100, and that's kind of, I kind of want to segue into that, because when you talk about club level racing, at EKN we put a big focus on the 206 because we see what that's doing. That second level of the club level racing is when guys potentially want to go faster. Some
Absolutely.
never do. Some never do. They love the Briggs, right? For sure. I talked to a couple guys down when I was in Florida that they were running X30 Master, and man, it was just easy and fun to do the Briggs, and the racing was great.
For sure.
Is that something that's going to be maybe more of a push this year?
Absolutely.
Is getting that VLR 100 out? One of the cool things is obviously is it's so compatible at the senior level, at least right now, with the KA 100 from Miami. They can run together, which opens the door for so many people to come. I'll let you speak to the VLR 100.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And you've probably had the same conversations I've had. A lot of the stuff you see posting online is, it's all about the dollar. It's all about the money. It's really, in my experience, is not really about the money. It's more about, and let's take senior and master L206 guys for an example. We want to go to the next level, which is a GP for us. It's $2,600. The price for the engine is not terrible, but okay, now you need to add a chassis. So okay, it's still not that terrible. You drop $4,000 on a chassis, so they're in $7,000. So yeah, you may be getting into that price, but most of those master guys could afford that. But what I hear most is these guys are still just kind of want to be hobby guys. They're not going to be out in their cart 2 or 3 days a week like our minis or our juniors or some of our shifter guys. they just plain can't drive a GP, period. I mean, I'll take me for an example, and you race more than I do, but I'll take me. If you put me in a GP, I might be good for a session or two, and then I'm done.
I totally agree.
I'm not going to be able to drive that. There's no way I'm going to be competitive on a weekend. But I could jump in a VLR or 100cc, and I could be competitive all weekend.
Yeah. So
I think that for me is probably one of the most important pieces that we've been missing in our puzzle. To go so that, and then on top of that 4-cycle chassis they're currently using makes a badass 100cc chassis in most aspects. So to drop spend $1,500 on a VLR and drop it on your 4-stroke chassis, I mean, you're in business, and it goes from, in the 20 horsepower range, so it's drivable. So I think those are kind of the targets that we're looking for that engine. I also think it's not a bad idea, for kids coming out of mini or going straight into a junior is a massive jump, right? You've been around enough to know the Rotax did a fantastic job for 15 years, running and building karting and putting karting, all over North America. But one thing they did do is decimate that 100cc program with their one engine philosophy.
Yep.
When Rotax went away, we never filled that gap. So I think this is a very, very important part into the karting industry or the karting market, whether you decide to do a K or a VLR. It doesn't really matter as long as, that 100cc is there. And again, like you said, they're compatible to run. We had a miscue on the junior header, on 100% my fault on the junior side. So they're redoing our header for the junior. So the Ks and the VLRs should be able to run, side by side, no problem. So that's a big focus for us. It's a great price point. It's a great speed level. A hobbyist can still, run them. So I don't see any downfall to the 100cc in any aspect at all. So
I think we saw, a lot of growth with it last year, and I think you're going to see more growth with it this year. People have jumped on board; they really enjoyed it. With you guys continuing to run the split platform where you can do the two different makes, I think that's going to be big for the ROK Cup programs. And interesting that you brought up the fact that it's that jump between mini and the junior categories. It's such a big jump, and it's funny because there'll be guys on the pro level, right? The national level guys who, like you said, are in a cart 2-3 times a week. They're racing every weekend. Mm-hmm. Those guys in the mini categories have risen up their skill set with this amount of track time they get, that I don't think that jumps that big for most of the front runners, right? Front half of the grid, maybe front 75% of the grid. Those guys get so much track time. Mm-hmm. That jump to the junior isn't as hard. But then, we're already talking, you and I, about club and regional level racing. Well, if you're a regional level kid in mini, that jump to junior all of a sudden is, wow, that's, because you race 10 times a year. Yeah. You practice 10 times. You're in the cart maybe 10 times, whatever, maybe 10 to 20 times, not, 100 times a year or 200. Some of these guys get the amount of seat time that gets ridiculous. Well, that 100cc, that injection into the ladder that you mentioned, it's so valuable for club and regional level racing.
I agree. And I think, the other people, not just the drivers that are having a tough time with their kids coming out of mini into a junior, are the parents too. I mean, just in general, it's a shock to mom too, when, they've watched their kid run around in the mini and then, holy crap, now he's a full size cart. He's doing this much quicker. The cart's wider. There's so many other things that, I think mom and dad are a little freaked out too. Of course, the kid and the team owners and the tuners, they got it figured out, but we still got to get mom and dad on board. So I think that 100cc is great. And I actually don't think that. I think it's been proven over time. I mean, we, over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we've seen a transition where karting has totally changed. I mean, you used to have, just like you said, we were on the GX200s. We went to the KTs, yep. Then we went to, a tag cart or a shifter or something like that. But that's not happening anymore. And we're pushing these kids so hard now, to go big. And I don't know. I think at some point, if we can build this 100cc up, it may be a transition. Maybe we can put an age category that they got to run a year or two in that 100cc before we allow them there. I don't know. Something to think about,
I'd be on board with that hugely because, there is a lot of pressure. And like you said, if you had that age level where, hey, you got to come through this, and again, it's all about the development of power, right? Power and track time, speed and racecraft. And I love the idea for sure of having those kids have to go into the 100 for 1 or 2 years. I don't think that's the worst thing at all. Now, all right, I got a question for you because obviously, social media right now, the last couple of weeks, I think 3 weeks, this big thing's been this, 10-year challenge, right? Post a picture of yourself 10 years ago, whatever, whether it's the CIA doing it or just Facebook, whatever it may be. Let's do a 1-year challenge for you, Garett, because the interesting thing right now, I'm going to ask you about your outlook for 2019, but I want you to look back again to think where you were last year at this time when, how far have you come in terms of your mind? Because, everybody can see what's happening on the outside.
Right.
You're the guy on the inside that, sees all the moving parts. You're the guy pulling everything behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
What's your from last year to this year? And then let's move forward and talk more about 2019. What are your biggest positives you take from the last, 365 days?
Well, I think, there's no doubt it's been a lot of work. There's, 2017 was a lot of work, and not only that, a lot of support and financial effort from Vortex. But I just got off a phone call 45 minutes an hour ago with the factory, just on our weekly calls. And a year ago, I had this vision honestly, I had the vision of being where we're at right now. I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job. There's a ton of interest in the product. The people that are using the product are very happy with it. I really felt if we could get people to come to our events, they would be happy with it. The way we run our show, and after this weekend, after Vegas, we had 2 back-to-back really good weekends with extremely good positive feedback from the clients. So I think we're headed in the right direction. Of course, you always want more, but I also understand the more is really going to be the harder work, which is the clubs and the regionals, because that stuff's not going to come easy. Well, now we're talking about going out and getting new customers. It's not just about poaching other customers. We've got to build our own brand loyalty from the ground up, and it's going to take a lot of legwork and a lot of groundwork to make that happen. But overall, I'm happy. I'm tired, but I'm happy.
Well, it's funny, you and I talked about this in our last podcast when we said that the concept was to try to go find new racers to come into the ROK program, right? But you look at that one weekend last year where there was the ROK Cup International Final and the Miami International Final. Both of those events had over 300 and something drivers. Mm-hmm. That's the ability. That's the dream.
Absolutely.
I think, for anybody in the sport to have 350 unique here and 350 unique here and 350 unique here, whatever it may be.
For sure.
Obviously, Rotax is on its way back with a new importer. So again, finding new people means we're not, like you said, poaching or sharing or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you're always going to have that top maybe 20%, maybe a little bit higher, that are going to run everything and anything. If they can be in a cart, exactly. They're going to be in a cart. So that's great. But my goal is still to see, instead of 350 national racers, 1,000 national racers. That really needs to be everybody's goal, to get back and spend the time, energy, and money getting new people in. I've got to give credit where credit's due. My competitor has spent a ton of money on marketing and advertising and TV and done a lot of stuff, and so you got to give them credit. I think we need to spend that money in the club level, getting new people. And that's really what I want to focus on. We've spent a lot, trying to do the transition, taking advantage of some other people's falters. So we were able to get in the market, but we had to spend the money. But now that we're kind of rolling, I think the whole idea is to take that money, put it at the bottom, and, in a year or two, maybe we can get to that, 300 or 400 unique racers. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get them. I don't know how else you're going to get them unless you go out and dig for them,
Yeah, I agree. It's, you look at some of these races, like let's say the USAC's, Battle of the Brickyard, they're able to pull 300 and something entries into that event, to the inaugural event. Same goes for, the Quincy in the Park Revival. They had over 300 total entries, but they're drawing from that Briggs and Stratton, for the most part,
Absolutely.
that Briggs and Stratton pool of thousands of racers that run the weekly racing series. You know what I mean? You're be able to pull from that pool. That's the biggest issue, obviously, in the national level, is the pool of guys that can, number one, afford to go there, and number two, have the aspirations to race at that level. That's the difference. If you can build a bigger pool, you're definitely going to get more guys to come to the top.
For sure, it's the only way. And it's so it's depressing sometimes that I see some of the tracks that were due in the past have done so well. I don't want to throw names out there. There's 10 or 15 that I can think of off the top of my head that 8-10 years ago were at least 80 and a consistent 100, in that range. And now they're down in the 30 to 40 range. So something needs to change on that side. And it's a lot of work. You've got to have the passion. You got to have the people, and you got to have the support to get those back to where they were.
And personally, Garett, I know you mentioned it already. I would love to see a revival in Colorado, because you know this. You've been around long enough. I've been obviously around long enough. At one point, the Colorado State Championships, I think was it the Colorado Sprint Championships or the Colorado State Championship, the CSC. That was I used to use that. I used to write about it in Shifter Card Illustrated at that point, Supercard Illustrated. I think we wrote about it on EKN. That at one point in karting, Colorado was the model. In my mind, it was model that everybody needed to emulate. It was all the tracks working together.
Yeah.
They put together a program, like a true regional program. They put together a program. Everybody, they had one race at all the tracks. Everybody worked together. They had the race at Steamboat Springs, and that was the model. It was amazing.
It was fun.
And now Colorado struggles to get, as you said, 30 guys out to a club race or whatever it may be. So
exactly.
Again, that's a region, man. Yeah. If we could revive that one, it's again a rising tide floats all boats. That
for sure.
That could be one that I think people will go, man, hey, if we work together again, we could do this again. It was that model, and it's a shame to see really that the karting struggling a little bit in Colorado.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing it. There's a handful of people that are doing a really good job. I mean, Newcastle's doing a fantastic job. OGP's doing a good job. Sonoma's coming back, so that's good. But other than, those ones in my mind, and I'm sure there's some others in California and other places, there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, think about this. My hometown, Utah. I mean, we were 110, 120 every weekend for 15 races a year in a 7-month period.
Yep.
And then I can still remember this. I don't remember the exact year, but I want to say it was like maybe 2008, 2009. I think out of the top 10 qualifiers in I think it was S2 or S1, I can't remember. I think 8 of them were from Utah. Do you remember that?
Shifter guys out of there. Yep.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot of work to do. It's just I think that's where it's got to be, though, because that's where it all comes from. So.
Final thought here as we wrap things up here on the Industry Insider with Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA. Garett, there's lots of work to be done. There's a lot of naysayers that say that karting's dying. From where I am, on an unbiased position where we talk to everybody, karting's definitely strong. It's on the uprise. People talk about its death, and I'm sorry, folks. It's still good. We do need to find new racers, but there's a lot of strength, a lot of growth at clubs around the country. If you sit back and look at it right now, do you feel that there is some overall good momentum in the sport?
Oh, 100%. I think that I think anybody that says karting's dead is crazy. I think that in my opinion, where we're at now, no matter what brand you pick, this is right now is the potential to add new racers. The economy's good, the dollar's strong, people are spending money, but they're not going to come to you. They're not going to drive to your shop and find you. They're not going to. You've got to go out and find these people. You got to, decide who your customer base is, which are people with disposable income, and go out and seek it, and also I would, strongly suggest that, I know there's a lot of teams and we were like this, at Miller, that, M Squared, for an example. M Squared and us were extreme rivals when it came to on track stuff, but off track, we were all one focus to build that program. Who can add the most junior ones? Who can add the most, Rotax juniors at that point? It was a challenge and it was fun. We had a good time doing it. And, so I would say that these guys that are fierce challengers or fierce rivals, trackside should, team up together and go out and seek some of these customers. And, I don't know. I just don't know why someone with some real focus couldn't, a club couldn't add, 8, 15, 20 racers a year if it was done right. Because I've seen it happen. I was involved in it. I've done it. So karting's not dead. Karting just needs the customers. You got to go out and get them.
It's interesting you say, talking about the fact that your competitors on track, but you're working together off track. It's interesting. We have multiple engine manufacturers, chassis manufacturers, multiple organizations, but karting industry is still one.
Absolutely.
Right? The industry is one entity. It's not different entities, and we're all in the same business, all in the same industry. And as an industry, if we have some kind of cooperation, I think that's something that could potentially fuel moving forward. Now,
absolutely,
Garett, I'm going to shut this down. One more question for you.
Uh-oh.
Are you even thinking about ROK de Rio yet?
No.
Don't even bring that up.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's not, if I didn't have another temp course, I don't know who decided to do 3 temp courses a year, but I'm not even looking at that. But, obviously there's a few things we're getting squared away, but, working with vendors and stuff, but, I won't even start looking at that until probably, right after Florida Winter Tour ends, right after in March sometime, I'll start hammering on that.
I hope I didn't fuel a couple of nightmares there.
No,
right.
No, I'm all right.
Hey, Garett, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
There you go, EKN Nation. A ton of information in the ROK Cup USA community. Garett Potter, of course, doing a fantastic job. Florida Winter Tour up and underway. Their second race coming in February, again, back at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. On the West Coast, Andy Saisman and the crew from the Challenge of the Americas will be kicking things off in a couple of weeks. Of course, that'll be EKN Trackside Live that weekend. David Cole will be there with Chappie, Tim Chapman on the mic. Folks, great stuff happening in the sport. And again, big thank you to Garett Potter for joining us here on the Industry Insider, of course, on the EKN Radio Network. If you have not downloaded the app, get the iTunes, get the Google Play, get the podcast signed up, download the app. I'm telling you, great content coming all year long. And again, a lot of great insight from guys like Garett. We thank him for being with us, folks. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.